Hello, everybody. So it was typically something that shouldn't happen, unexpected things. Um, the the screen wasn't working, but okay, I'm not too late. So first of all, I would like to thank you for dedicating 45 minutes to this uh, talk, because I think that 45 minutes is quite a lot. If I had all the people in there, it's a lot of time. And I really think that time is something really valuable. Some people are saying that time is like money, but I think it's much more than money, because we have roughly the same amount of time in our lives, roughly. And even if you are poor or rich, you always only possess the present moment. So it's really something that is more equal than money. So I would say that time is not money, it's more opportunities. Money is one of them. So, first of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Rachel Foucard. I think I'm going to take it. I am the happy CTO of a French web agency in France. And I think I love my job and I love my team. I'm also actively involved in Typo 3 community and the Typo 3 project since a few years. I am board member, UX team lead, and also strategy group team lead. So to, let's say, explain what I'm doing all day long, but in very short terms, I am managing projects. I am taking care of teams, taking care of user experience, and also creating and trying to improve processes. So I have to say that when I started, I was a very bad project manager, because I was always busy, always late. And I think that at that moment in my life, I was doing nothing except working. So it was really difficult. And I tried to work a lot to improve that time problem. Uh, and I think that what I would like to do today, even if I have still a lot to improve, and I think it's never finished, I would like to share with you the tools, let's say, like that, that have really changed my life and improved my life. But first of all, I would like just to ask you a few questions. How much of you are developers? Oh, I'm very happy. Maybe that's because I've put developers in the title. And how much of you thinks they are very bad in time management? Ah, okay. So maybe some of you came to see just if I was not telling too much bullshit or not. Or some of you maybe think they are good but not so good and would like to improve. How much of you? Okay. Okay. So I will try to surprise you, but what I'm going to say is not really surprising. It's probably something that you know, but I'm sure that there is one tool that you don't know. So let's see. So the agenda, it's very simple. I'm going to talk about perception, synchronization, tools, and my favorite one, anticipation. And I should keep a little room for an unexpected topic, because if I wouldn't give the good example. So let's start with perception. I'm going to start with a very short story. Maybe you know it because it's a very well-known story. I will call it the story of the big rocks or the big stones. So once upon a time, famous management professor was invited to major annual conferences for, let's say, senior executives, and he was asked to do a talk about time management. So he had a very short time, and he had to be very effective. So he arrived on stage and with a briefcase, and after a quick introduction, he took out an empty bottle from his briefcase, like this one. And also he put it on the table, and then he took out a bag of big rocks and filled the bottle with them, like this. And when he finished, he turned to the audience and asked, "Is this bottle full?" So the audience said yes. So he searched inside his briefcase and pulled another bag of smaller rocks like pebbles. He poured them in the bottle and shook the bottle so that the pebble go through the empty spaces. And then he asked again, "And now do you think that this bottle is full?" So of course the audience say that no, it shouldn't be so full. Let's see. So again, he searched in his briefcase and again pulled out something else in another bag, this time with sand, and he poured the sand into the bottle, let's say like this, and turned again to the audience and asked, "So now do you think that this bottle is full?" And again the audience said no. Let's see. So he took the carafe of water that was on the table of the speaker and poured as much as possible water just to the top, let's say like this. And then he asked, "Okay, now we know that the bottle is full. So what did I want to tell you? What did I want to show you?" So what was the learning? The first participants that answered say, "Yes, I think I've understood what you wanted to say to us. There is always place for more tasks." So no, of course not. That was not what you wanted to say. And he said, "What I wanted to tell you was much more simple. If I didn't put the big rocks first, I would have never be able to put all the rest in the bottle." So now we can say that maybe the learning was, okay, what is big goes first. But it doesn't help a lot, because what is big rocks in our lives or in our work? It's difficult to guess. So some says that big means important things. And it's quite true. What is important for you in your life or in your project? What are the priorities? So maybe the learning is to say, well, I should be able to prioritize my task so that I can do them all. Some people are talking also about emergency. So how an emergency, an urgent task, is it a big rock or not? So priorities and emergencies are really different things. I will talk about that a little bit later. So it's very easy for you to know what is a big rocks in your daily work. If you look at that matrix, you have the time you need to spend on something and the importance or the priority of these things that you have to build or to code as a developer. So you know where are your big rocks. And basically, you have a lot of things that you just shouldn't do. If you think just, is it long and is it useful or important? And the high priority that doesn't take too much time should just be now. There is a trap with that because we tend to think that if something is important, we need to give it a lot of effort, a lot of love, a lot of time. And it's difficult to know when we should stop. And it's really something that I see a lot with our, let's say, our job. Coding something, it's building something, and we really want it to be perfect. And also we know that if we don't do it well enough, we will have a lot of time that will be wasted to maintain that code because we will create some legacy. So it's very difficult to know when to stop, but we have to learn to detect when something is good enough. So it's good enough not only for you, but for the customer, the end users. He asks for something that not shouldn't be perfect, just good enough for him. Because when you are delivering something that is better, you are creating your own big rocks, and they are growing so much that nothing can be put in the bottle anymore. And it's even worse because when you are doing this, I don't know if you can see that now because it's a very light gray, but when you are working on this task again and again, you don't start working on the next ones. So you could put much more value if you would be able to stop just at a good moment. I would like also to talk about how we can visualize something that is really blurry in our minds, because we all know what time is, but it's very difficult to give a clear definition of that. And also we are not very good to define what a real task is. So it's if those two concepts are too difficult for us to clearly define, of course it will be difficult to organize our task in a day, for instance. So let's first clarify this. Um, so we have two ways, very simple, to picture the time that is passing. We have a kind of timeline. It's a linear way to picture it. We know the present, the past, and the future. So the present, it's a very simple thing. It's when what you are experimenting matches what you are expecting. That's the present. So if the timeline is your life, well, let's say that the present is your actual family situation, your professional situation. You know exactly what is happening in your day and in your weeks, where you are going to pass your vacation is the present. Something that is very stable. And we really prefer the present than the future or the past. And we can even simplify this with two ways of seeing the time. It's the now and the not now. Because what is not actually work in progress is just not now. And if you look at your task, so the future is the to-do list, the now is the work in progress, and the not now is the done. So you can have another way to picture the time that is passing, and this way is much less pressuring. It's the cycle. So we have a lot of cycle, and that's the way we are measuring the time. We have clocks like this. So this is 1 hour. This can be also one day. It's something that is repeatable. You have some, let's say, milestones that are quite the same. And during those milestones, you are regularly meeting others to synchronize. And that's routines. So it's really reassuring because you know exactly what is going to happen. And also, if you have a bad day, you know that another one will come and maybe you will make it better. And you have something that must separate two cycles, a hand. So for the day, for instance, it's just sleeping night. So you can represent a timeline, and in this timeline, you can have regular cycle that you are repeating. the problem with the cycle is that we are using them to measure time and also to synchronize with the others, because we know that some people are working by night, for instance, but most of us are living in the day, sleeping in the night. We are taking our vacations in summer, so that all the schools can be open or closed at the same moment. So these cycles are also a way for us to build collective things and to live together. But when we try to synchronize, we are tending to fit with the fastest of us. So things are tending to constantly accelerate. And whatever the cycle is, so it can be a day, a week, or for development or project, it could be a sprint. Things tends to accelerate constantly. And I think that we all have this feeling today that we are not fast enough. And we have this pressure of this constant social acceleration. And it's a real topic. So social acceleration is not a perception. It's real. It's really happening. So Hartmut Rosa is a philosopher, German. So and it's very well known, and his work is all about acceleration. And his theory is really well explaining what it is, what's happening today. And it's begun since a long time, but today it's really visible. You have three kind of acceleration. You have the technical acceleration. We all know what it is. It's easier to go from a point A to a point B, for instance. You have the social change. So it's when something important is changing in your life. You are changing more often your job, for example, or maybe you divorce and you find a new husband or a new wife more often in your life. It's a lot of social changes, and it can happen more often today. It's accelerating. And you have also the pace of life. So the amount of things you can do in a day. And those three acceleration are very different, it's true, but they are totally interrelated. And one acceleration will trigger another one. And it's always be a kind of vicious cycle. Like now you can send a lot of email instead of sending postal later. So maybe you don't need any more professionals to transport that letter from a point A to a point B. So there is a lot of social change because of communication. And instead of using that time that is saved, because it's much more easier to write a letter to someone, we are going to send maybe 40 letters a day instead of 5. And they will arrive instantly to the recipient, and they will answer, and then I will have more tasks to do. And again, it's a vicious cycle. So the social acceleration is unfortunately something that we can't avoid. We know that it exists, but we can't just slow down all the world. But the good news is that you are not a bad person. You're not a loser that is not able to handle his time. It's just normal, because no one can handle properly this acceleration. So let's now talk about synchronization, because acceleration is not something so bad. We should be happy that something is going faster for us, but we are usually not happy when something is not going at the same rhythm than us. If it's too fast or too slow, I'm not happy. So the major problem is more the synchronization. And we are very bad at that. So the simple goal of synchronization is to be sure that your own speed is matching with the other's speed. It's just a question of having the same speed than the others. And also, that being able to work together. So imagine that you are working on a project and you absolutely know what you have to do and when you have to do it. But let's call her Hannah is someone in your team that has to deliver something before so that you can start one task. And maybe an external consultant needs something finished from you to start his own task. So maybe Hannah is using the same tool than you, but you don't want to check precisely her planning. It's not your business. You just want to know if she will have finished on time. Um, and you absolutely don't have access to the product or the tool that your external consultant is using. So how can you synchronize together? How can you synchronize together, by the way? Someone has an idea? No. I have a bad news. It's just meetings. And I know that you don't like that, but meetings are really useful. They have some purpose. And one of them is to synchronize. So you will first have to report about your progress to eventually alert if you have some blockers, and also plan again or change your plan. So when you are synchronizing together, and those meetings should be really short because they are just for that, you should be prepared and just deliver the information and discuss about it. Usually those meetings should be between each cycle. And I am considering the meetings as a tool. So for me, a tool is not only softwares. There is another common issue with our agendas. Usually they are working like this. So you have your task, and as you can see, something is missing. Is the other half of your life, your private life. And usually it seems to be a very good idea to separate private and professional. You have different tools, or maybe you don't have a tool at all for the private life because you are considering that, okay, I don't have to plan everything. It's the private life. But the problem is that if you don't plan things in your private life, it's like the private life is not important. You don't have big rocks for them. So you should really pay as much attention to your private project and tasks than the professional ones. And it's not a bad thing to use the same tool because it's the same person that live in the same day. So maybe you have courses or a yoga courses at just noon. It's the same person. And you have to just think, okay, I have to think about this because I have to be on time. And it's the same for the evening and the weekend. And if you don't plan things, how can you synchronize with your family and your friends? And how can you achieve your project with them successfully? It's exactly the same. So now you feel the guilt. So how can we solve all those problems with some tools? So I won't convince you to use a specific tool because I don't think there is a best tool that will solve all the problem and make you view all the task and the big rocks of everyone you are working with. It doesn't exist. You will have to use maybe two kind of tools. The mandatory tools, so it's the tools that you have to work with just because your stakeholders are working with and you have to use the same, or your company is using it, so you have to. And your favorite tools, because you are free to choose your own tools. Maybe you are a freelancer. So you will use the tool you prefer the most. You know it very well, all the features. and you can get the most of it. Let's say that the best tool, in my opinion, is only the tool that you use regularly. It's really important, not just because those tools, you will see that the purpose is to be checked, to be watched regularly, not only to be updated from time to time and just forgot. So you have different kind of tools to manage your time. First, you have to collect the tasks. So the tasks can come from a lot of different sources. It can be your email box, it can be a phone call, a meeting, of course. When you have a meeting, you come back with a lot of new tasks. That's bad things about meetings. It can be also just a Slack conversation with someone asking you for help. So this tool really has to be able to uh, let you collect at any moment of your daily work in any situation. So I have just a question for you. Do you put some to-do comments in your code? Can you just raise your hand if you're doing this? Okay. And do you think it's a good idea? Nope. I can say that each time I see a to-do comment in code, I just thinking as a project manager, this task won't be done ever. I will read it in 1 year and nobody will know why it's there. So, and it's true that I can understand that you are putting to-dos like this when you are coding, but in that case, it's just tasks that you will do before merging your code, because after that, it will be very complicated for you to do it because you have to read that at a moment you have time for it. And it won't happen. I can be sure. You will read it again and again at the bad moment. So it will be just something annoying, like a notification popping up at the bad moment. And it just makes your code looks unfinished. But it's not, because you will never do that task. So just don't put the to do here. If you really want to do that task, then put it in the good tool. So who is using a stupid but I think very useful task list? Okay, it's very good. So, and I must say that it's the tool that I have to force every new young developer to use. They all think that they will just remember everything, and it's just impossible. So now, just imagine that this task list is a bag where you just put, but not in a good order, all the rocks and pebbles you need to then organize afterwards. You put that because you don't want to decide when you are going to do it. You just know that you have to do it. And you just note the task that you have to do. So it's your assigned task, not the others. Some of them are maybe already in a calendar. So you don't have to put in the both places because the calendar is more like bottles already organized, but without the sand, just the rocks and the pebbles. Some tasks are just wishes or projects, so they shouldn't be there either. Um, some tasks are maybe too big or too complex, so you should just put the first step. So, like, update my passport if I want to go to Japan, and the rest of the tasks in the calendar for later. And some tasks maybe can take 5 minutes or less. But I don't know what I have to answer if this email is complicated or not. So if it's a complicated mail and I need to think about it, and maybe I will take 10, 15 minutes to send it, then I can note it because I need to give some space for that. But if it's really a simple mail, and that it takes less than 5 minutes, just don't put it in the task list. Just do it. But I think that you already know that. Um, so the task list or the collecting tools are individual tools. And you use it in a very simple way. You update, you watch, you update, you watch, and again and again. And a task list, you should have a look at it several times a day. This is an organizing tool. So it's when you are putting things in your bottles. So it's more an individual tool too. And same, update, watch, nothing new. Here you have only some rocks and pebbles, but maybe not all of them. And you certainly don't have the sand. So we'll see what is the sand after. Some tools that you really well know are using is all the synchronization tool. So the tools like these are supposed to be collective. So it means that if in your company only the project manager is watching it, is the only person that knows the truth. The truth, sorry. It's really important that developers are using also the same tool and watching it. And normally, you should be the one who update your own tasks and track your time so that it can be very efficient. Because then that kind of tool becomes real time, visible for you, for your colleagues, and even your customers. If you're really transparent with them, they can just check the progress of your project. So same, update, watch, but maybe less often, maybe once a day. Because if you do that only once a week, you would need maybe a lot of memory. And sometimes it's difficult to know what you did on Monday morning. So update it more daily. It's the same then the calendar. You don't have the sand in it. It's not interesting. You just have what you have to do and what you have done. Other synchronization tools are the Kanban board. Kanban board are really interesting tools, but they have only one goal. It's more, okay, so you have update watch, okay? It's only to get things done. So you use it not to have an overview of when things will be done or when everything will be finished or whatever. It's just to help people moving the task until it's done. And you don't have to fill two tools. I mean, this is just another view of the same data that are already stored, for instance, in the Gantt you saw before. It should be exactly the same because you don't have time to report everything in different tools. So this one doesn't exist. And I've discovered this tool reading another book about time because it's really my passion, and someone that had a very cluttered agenda working for the government wrote a book about how he was managing his time, and I thought it was really enlightening because with that kind of tools, it can be on a paper like your task list, it can be on a screen if you prefer. You see the size of your tasks because when you have just a list of checkbox, you don't see the size of your tasks. So you're not able to evaluate if you will be able to do all of them in 1 day or 3 days. So every day you can use that kind of tool. So the first time I use that tool, I was expecting that my day will be wonderful and that would be perfectly fine at the end of the day. And I totally screwed up. But I was really happy because for the first time, I knew why I screwed up. I knew why I failed, because the side effect of this tool is that it's revealing all your bad behavior, like procrastination or, I don't know, bad evaluation or whatever. So let's say that what you do with this tool is just to put some of the rocks of your bag, so the task list, in a bottle, and yes, you fill it. But you don't put all the rocks, you just select the task that you can do today. So I can show you how I am, how I would fill in this tool if I would be a developer. So let's say that you have this time frame for a day, and you just split it in quarter. Let's say that the quarter is the smallest size of a task. And if you need to handle a task that has a 1 hour duration, you will just repeat the quarter. And here we will have the sand. So first, what I'm putting here is the moment that will be the routine. I know that I will have a lunch, so I won't work that there. I know that at the end of the day, I will give some space to track my time and to plan. So to do what I am doing now is just the day before. Every morning, let's say that we have a daily meeting that should be no more than a quarter, a standing meeting, for example. And then I know that I have 2 meetings in the day. And you see, I could choose the time, and my preferred time was at a limit of a part of the day, so that I have more space for doing something else. Because if I put my meeting in the middle of the afternoon, it's very difficult for me to place something else. It's like a Tetris. My meetings are not more than 30 minutes. And I know that after the meeting, I will have to maybe replan things, change things. I need some time after the meeting. Maybe I have to report or whatever. So I know that even if the meeting is 30 minutes, I give 1/4 more. So I need to focus a lot on a feature. So let's say that I'm going to code for the project A all the morning, but I need a pause at the moment. And you see, I gave other 3/4 for the sand. So the sand is the mailbox. Yeah. The sand is maybe someone asking you for help, some review, some research and development, and always empty space for unexpected things. So anticipation, very quickly, you can anticipate an action. So it means execute before the time. An event, it means foresee. You see before something is arriving. So it's like extending the present. And that's why anticipating is something really relaxing, because you have the feeling that the present is just bigger. So priority versus emergency is very simple. One is do it first. The other is do it fast. So for instance, you can have emergency that you can break, because an emergency is always a big rock that you could break if you would anticipate. That's task that waited too much and you knew that you would have to do it, so it grown, or consequences of bad decision. And let's say that task that waited too much is also a consequence of bad decision. And you have real unexpected emergency. So let's say that it's the fast lane task that has to be done very quickly, like a security issue, something like this. So to handle all this, what I propose always is to plan with an agile time, so free time that you can use for emergency. And if there were no emergency, you can use it for research and development, helping a colleague, whatever. You can use it. You have a lot of things to do. So just never plan 5 days a week. It doesn't exist. And last but not least, track your time. Please do it because it's very useful for you. It's not something for your manager, it's really for you, because when you track your time, well, you will be more able to evaluate how long it takes to do something, because you would just have to check how long it really took in the past with data. So it's much better to track your time. It's exactly the same than anticipation. And you just look at how long it took and you know how long it will take. So no unexpected topic? I don't think so. So thank you very much. And tell me if you have questions.
Thank you, Rachel. Very obvious question in regards of the tool that you have shown us. The last one, I was Googling while you were presenting it. Does this tool exist or is this an opportunity?
So I read a book. I don't remember the name, but I could give it to you. It's a French politic that was minister of whatever in the past, and he had a very hard calendars to follow, and he was explaining how he was managing. So he was using that tool every day. For me, I am using it now only when I know that a day will be complicated. I don't have to use it every day. And it's not exactly the same than me because he's using paper, or he was using paper, and I prefer to use a tablet because it's easier for me to update things. Uh, and I just separated things in another way than him, but it's really up to you to imagine your own tool to fill in your bottle. Any questions?
Thank you. Um, I wonder if you have a recommendation on how to handle time-consuming people. So, for example, I have a project manager who calls me just to ask, "How are you?" and want to talk to me about my day or something like that.
So I think he wants to do kind of team building things, but it should be much more natural. It's not happening like this. Normally, you should just tell him how you are doing naturally with a coffee at another moment. It's not the moment when you are having meetings. You are working together. Um, and yes, it's not at a good moment, but yes, it's important to communicate together and do it that do it maybe more maybe he won't ask you that question if you just communicate with him at other moments.
I do feel like that planning only is good if your estimates are good. And I really do suck at estimates. I know this from my private life, also in my career. When I want to meet with my friends, and we say like, "Oh, it will be only about 2 hours," and we stay for 4 and talk and talk and talk and have fun. Sure, that's good in private life, but in business life, if you sell the customer like 4 hours of work, but you need 10, that's really bad. So maybe you can elaborate a bit about estimation, which is also a big part, I guess, of time management.
So to estimate, I'm just like you. I really hate estimate, and I'm procrastinating a lot that tasks, and that's the reason why all the estimation I do them on the Monday. I start by the task I hate the most, and I am estimating with the developers always because I before I was making some mistakes, and they were telling me, well, you underestimate. So now they are estimating with me, and it's even lower. So I am just making, but I'm not the guilty one anymore, so it's cool. And what we are doing in our company is to add always, let's say, 10% of agile time that the customer can use, or that we can use. It's in the contract if we discover something that we didn't think about. And it's exactly the same that the agile time in the calendar. You can, if we don't use it, and we have to be very transparent, they can use it for something else or for maintenance or whatever. But it's true that with estimation, when you are not working in an agile mode with the Scrum and so on, and you have to, yes, to deliver exactly what you had to deliver, you can sell just agile time, additional time to, yes, to handle that. But what I wanted to say when I was talking about the tracking thing is that when I estimate now with my developers, we also watch how much, how long it took for a similar feature or similar project, but not how much we sold the project, but how much it really took. So we also had the tracking of all the wasted time that we didn't sold. And it's really important because then we can tell the customer, you know, we wasted a lot of money. So that's the reason why this time it's more expensive. And you have the proof for that. Yeah. Yeah. But we still make mistakes because we, in our job, we are always doing things that are new. So in the year, we will also that we are doing for the first time. So it's not always easy. Other questions? Nope. Thank you very much. No, another question?
I just wanted also to add one aspect in regards of that. I read many years ago a book that was published by O'Reilly. It's called Time Management for System Administrators, and one of the key outcome or key insights that I got out of it was like, actually, you have to deal with the time expectations of others too. So that means, so I think you were saying something, by synchronizing, we find out where people are and so on and so forth. But there's sometimes a kind of a non-opaque technique that you can do is actually buy time for complicated things. So sometimes customers or that is not very sincere, just to tell you, but it's sometimes a tactic that you can apply if you know that things are maybe taking shorter than they should, that you should raise the expectation on the time that when this will be delivered. So there's this one saying that it says under promise and over deliver. So basically it's the other way around, that you actually would say, okay guys, I will send you the offer. That is what I often do. So it's Thursday. So and I know that I need to write an offer, and the offer is quite standardized, but it still takes time. So, and I tell, oh, by Monday afternoon, latest on Tuesday, you will get the offer. And often on Friday, I also have finished the offer, and I could send the offer, but I have, I don't add urgency to it. I think you did a lot of examples, that everything becomes faster, and people are, just because the email is in a second in your inbox, that means that people are expecting that. So buying your time, and time is actually the most valuable thing that you have, and to you at the back, spending 2 hours more with your friends is more valuable than spending 2 hours on a shitty task, right? So please be valuable, and really deal with the expectations of people, and think of the expectations. So that is my advice. Time management for system administrators.
Thank you. Thank you very much.